Well, we're back again. Hi, I'm Dr. Joshua Smith. I'm here with Pastor George Thompson, and we're here again to talk about finances. We're here to talk about how our spiritual life and finances come together, how our practical life and finances come together. We had a fantastic conversation the last time we were together, and I hope you were benefited from it. I hope you're joining us in adopting some of the principles and the principles from his book, The 21-Day Fast. And today I'd like to start off really talking about, we kind of broached it the last time, but just this whole notion of, you talked about this level 5 area of financial stewardship that we're all aspiring to, but it had an element of service,
Right.
generosity, and certainly churches will talk about these things because there's practical needs for the church. But it seems like as we talk more about what you do, there are other kinds of benefits and realities that we benefit from when we kind of embrace a kind of a service mindset in our financial stewardship.
Right. So last time I went over that there's people at one of 5 levels. Everybody give me a high five. And you just tune in where you're at. Just type in where you're at. Struggling and sinking, that means inability to pay your current bills.
Sure.
Steady means you have just enough to pay your bills. If something snap, crackles, or pops, you fall on the struggling. Then there's solid. That means you've been working somewhere for a while, putting in a 401k, 1 week vacation. Then there is surplus. That's extra money. That means you typically run a business, something like that.
Sure.
Then the highest level is service, where you're not concerned with finances. You're just doing what God put you on this earth to do.
Wow.
So the goal is to get you to that level by showing you different things and walking you through it and doing it God's way. So yeah, that is the goal, and we're walking people to that.
Now, let me ask you something about that, because I think someone could say, well, when I get to that level, I will then have generosity that corresponds with that level.
Right.
What happens when you're at the other levels in terms of your generosity?
This is so good. So what we're doing is we're actually teaching you every level how to get to the next level. So when you're going up, you're actually doing 2 things. You're learning from the people. Actually, that's why we're doing this together.
good.
We're doing this as a church, but then also you have your family. It's easier to go up together than to do it all by yourself.
That's good.
So that's why you're doing it together. So then you're all giving. And also, by the way, when you tithe, and by the way, the word tithe means tenth.
Sure.
So when you're tithing, that's a starting block. That's not the end. So you can tithe all the way along, but then you can give over and above that. That's generosity. And in doing that. So as you're learning how to give, you learn how to give at this rate, at this level, and at this level, and that level. So you continue to give and
Now,
growing.
talk to me more about tithing as a starting block, because I can imagine there's some people say they're in a struggling position where tithing is daunting in and of itself.
Right.
So when they hear like it as a starting block, and you're asking me to do even more than that, how
Right.
do they even conceptualize
Oh, wait, but
something like
the
that?
first thing is your mind.
Okay.
It first of all starts in your mind. You know, like when in the Bible it says, try me, test me in this, that I may pour open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you don't have room enough to keep. So what happens is when you get blessed, you got to be a steward over what you are blessed with. You remember? You're blessed. God blesses you different ways, right? There are 4 ways. We covered this last time. God bless you every day with time, right? 86,400 seconds in a day.
Sure.
He bless you with a talent, the skill, right? So you remember, you may be struggling or steady or solid, surplus. I'm going to come back to that. Then the third is your temple, your body. You're blessed with that. Health, tender mercies that are new every morning. And then treasure your finances. You see how we're saying struggling, steady, solid, surplus, service?
Yes.
You're every area. How are you doing with your time? Some people are struggling in the area of time. Some people are struggling in the area of talent, meaning they're doing something they don't actually like to do. They're not living on their purpose. So what we're doing is we're looking at all these areas, and then we're just bringing you up. And that also deals with your giving. Because we can't say that we haven't been blessed. And then we're being good stewards over that. And then we continue to grow in our giving. Because some people you're right. They can't start off in tithe because you want to know why? We spent, right? So we have to learn how to manage that, right? Because there's something called poor and broke, right? There's a difference, right?
Now, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Poor means you don't have anything.
Sure.
Broke is you got a lot of stuff, you just can't pay for it.
That's good.
That means just your expenses are too high. Because in doing this, I've been doing this for quite some time. People say, I don't have any money to get, and then you go out and they'll have a car, this, that, and there. But now I understand if you're poor. But then what we want to do is we want to work on that. But the other part is that people tend to be able to spending on certain areas. So I want to come back to something. One of the things with the financial fast is we're reprioritizing things.
That's good.
You see, the Bible says in Matthew 6:33, it says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and the rest shall be added on to you." So what happens is he's saying, he's not saying that relationships aren't important, finances aren't important,
Sure.
this isn't important. He's saying, but God is the most important things. And then he adds the rest onto you. So that's why we're going to prioritize God first and prioritize our finance and prioritize things, because that's what the people should be. That's what we should be doing.
I love how you stated that, and I'm going to press you a bit more as well,
Right.
because as I think about you were really good. You gave us some really good examples last time we talked, and I'm thinking about someone who, they do hear preachers saying, "Hey, give, and it shall be given unto you," and they hear preachers wanting them to trust them with this.
Right.
Can you walk us through maybe someone who has in a struggling or
Right.
a scenario and made their way to another level as
Gotcha.
they were generous along the way?
Gotcha. I'm going to use that example. So
Sure.
first of all, I'm not interrogating anybody, and please don't take it as negative. Oh, he's just saying that I'm poor, it's my fault, or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's prioritize God. Let's prioritize how we do everything.
That's good.
And let's walk through it.
That's good.
So I'm not saying you've done anything, or that God doesn't like you, or don't be mad, or
Sure.
anything like this. What I'm saying is let's sit down for 21 days and take an inventory of our time, temple, talent, and treasure.
That's good.
And then let's see how we're blessed. And then, because so that's what we actually want to walk through. Because most people sit down and they say this: I could spend better use of my time. I'm not telling people just to completely stop all social media or stop doing this, but they can say, but did we prioritize? Did we do Bible study this week? Did we tune into our weekly Bible? How did we do this week with God?
Now, say more about the inventory. I think that's a very powerful word to use with respect to our whole lives, but especially our finances. Talk to us more about just that inventory process, the psychology, and like its value.
Right. So, but the reason why I say inventory is this: a lot of times when people say they don't, one of the reasons why people actually are depressed is they always look around at everybody else and they say, "I don't have this, I don't have that." I'm like, well, you should focus on what you do have
That's good.
and grow that. If you're living in an apartment, be a good steward over that so you can get a home.
That's good.
We were teaching young adults at our church. One of the things I was talking to them is that, do you know what I told them their biggest resources that they're not using? Relationships. They always said to me, "I want to open up this business and everything like this," or "I want to do that," but they were only talking to their friends.
Wow.
So she said, "I'm going to open up a coffee shop. I want to do this and that." I said, "Well, why are you talking to people who don't have one or aren't business owners? Those are your friends." And then at the time, my wife used to work for Manager Johnson of Starbucks and all this stuff at the time. I said, "Why don't you talk to them and don't ask for stuff other than knowledge and wisdom?" You see, we have to steward our relationships and take an inventory of that, because relationships are actually worth more than money in a lot of situations.
Wow.
But what we do is God has opened doors for us, and we haven't walked through them because we just either don't do it because we don't feel a certain way or doing these things. But if we just take an inventory, that means an inventory of resources. Because you see, here we go. God is our source.
Yes.
But we manage resources. That's what I'm saying stewardship about. Back to being poor and broke, is that we have to steward those relationships. Are we in relationships where we're always asking people for stuff? Or are we in relationships where people are always asking us? Let's look at how we're looking at stewardship where we both can grow together. And I'm going to stop talking because I don't want everybody to get mad at me and say, "Well, I did this," or "Why are you saying that?" All I'm saying is let's take an inventory of everything. Let's take inventory of our relationship with our family and say, how is this working? You know what I mean? Like in this area, let's take an inventory of our work. Like, hey, what are some areas this year that we can work on financially? Like, hey, at work, hey, if I do this, maybe I should get a promotion. Maybe I should do this school, do this. Take an inventory of that home, work life, then also car. Just look at everything. Take an inventory of what you have and say, how could I increase this or make this better?
Wow. I mean, the way you're talking, you're basically saying there are non-monetary elements in our lives that affect our finances that are actually assets that we don't leverage. from relationships to all. I mean, so there you go, build an all-star team.
Day 14.
Come on.
Hey, hit me up in the chat. Hit me up in the chat. Okay, look. So this is but you know when I started building an all-star team? So let's look at this real quick. I played volleyball collegiately and doing this. I was doing sports. I played on some teams that are not very good. I played on some teams that are really good.
Yep.
And one thing I learned about teams that play really well is they communicate really well. Everybody is striving toward a certain goal. So do you know what I would do? Like, I have a really good team of people that help me in my area of maintenance of my properties.
Wow.
And then also they're just different. So let's go through things like, let's say it's maintenance of property. It's this area. It's financial advisor. It's tax person.
Sure.
You have to sit down right now and look at who's on what would you have a dream team of? So you need someone that helps you with their finance. You need someone that helps you with, attorney, taxes, different areas, and then start developing relationships with them. Then people say, well, I'm going to wait till I get some money to do it. I'm like, that goes back to, the things. But no, we actually have to do this before. And we have to start having these down and then write them and then written down. If you remember in Habakkuk 2:2, it says, write the vision and make it plain. So the image is there's someone that's running and he wants to write it so big that everybody can see it when they're coming.
That's good.
We have to do that for yourself. Because otherwise we're just wandering. We're just trying to just figure it out. And then remember that struggling scene? That's why people spend time in survival mode. Time, temple, talent, treasure. In one of those 4 areas, it's because they're just trying to survive.
Let me say a bit more about that. I have another question here because, I'm not an economist, so I can't predict the economic future. But in my mind, I'm anticipating more changes to come in our world that'll affect people. And typically when there's scarcity or changes like that, people kind of like, I don't have enough to give, et cetera. Talk more about maybe how generosity, tithing or in other ways that we give, how that actually benefits you in a time of scarcity or when the economy's not going well.
Right. So first of all, you said you're not an economist, and just so you know, when they take all the economists, there's 10 of them, 5 of them think something is going to be bad, and 5 of them think it's going to do good. It's the same with stock. 5 people don't buy it, 5 people buy it.
Sure.
What you have to learn, what we want to learn is how to fly in any weather.
Ooh, that's
Do
good.
not forget this as long as you live. Everybody, I'm going to do it. Everybody hold up 3 fingers. There are 3 systems that operate right now, dimensions that operate at all times. Number 1 is God's system. We're going to do a whole show on that.
Oh, that's
God's system is built on giving and receiving. God gives and you receive.
Yes.
When people come to Zoe and sit out here, they're receiving all service long. They're only giving during worship. Actually, when they are tithing or when they're giving, you're actually receiving because God gave it to you. Psalms 24:1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness therein and all that dwell within. That means everything belongs to God. So what happens is God gave you 100% of what you have.
Yes.
And then when you tithe, you brought 10% back. That's why I make sure we're in the same thing.
Yes.
So that sometimes people say, I paid my tithe. No. Jesus paid it all. Everything else, that's it.
That's good.
He got up on a cross.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? And you brought back to God, and that's why you're cheerful when you give. God's system, giving and receiving. I can go on this. I can take about an hour on this, but okay. Second system is the world system. That's built on borrowing and lending. I owe, off to work I go. So what happens is you go to the bank, I want to go to college. Okay, I need a student loan. I want to go to this. I want to do this. I need to get a car. What does someone say when they want to get a car house? I'm going to borrow it. Instead of like, I got it.
Wow.
So remember that? We're going to teach kids we're later on. See that? So if we ever do that, you have it. But anyway,
that's right.
World system, borrowing and lending. Third system, your personal system. Everybody out there with your own personal system. So that's what you have to. So what do you have to do? That's how much you have in your checking, savings, investing, how much is coming in, income. That's your own personal system.
Yep.
So do you see the dimensions based on your question that you asked me?
Yes.
You asked me.
Yes.
You said that about generosity and everything like this.
Yeah.
So you want to connect in the God system. That's giving and receiving.
That's good.
You already are to a degree that God blesses you.
That's right.
Then the world system. Let me get 5 about what I'm going to say. Okay, so look, the world system, right? Borrowing and lending, you got to manage that. Do you know that actually when the economy does bad, I'm going to say something that's not going to make any sense to some of you, but just type in the chat if this makes sense to you. Do you know that actually when the economy does bad, that's actually the best time to invest, do well, that there's actually people that do better when the economy does worse? Because that's when foreclosures, different things, that's the best time to buy a house. You see how interest rates have been very high over the last year?
Yeah.
That's the best time to buy a house because there's less people fighting to try to get one.
You have a point.
That's
there.
why you want to buy a house. And then also, you guys, I'm only going to say this, but I'm doing it in the NFL, bumping and running.
Sure.
That's why you want to buy the absolute worst house, ugliest house in the best neighborhood with the most square footage and fix it up over time.
Wow.
You see the buying, the
y'all
turnkey,
hear
and everything,
this?
right?
He is dropping
Now, you
nuggets.
guys, if you want to argue with me, let's do it in person, okay? So, but I know everybody's like, no, I want to buy the most expensive house on the neighborhood. I'm like, no. You want to buy the worst and then make it the best. Oh, you want to build, you want to bring it from struggling to solid to surplus. Man, you know what? I'm going to keep going. Okay, but see, there's a God system, there's a world system, and then third, your own personal management system. You've got to manage that, but you need God. That's why you're doing God first. And then you manage your own personal finances. Because all through this inflation, your life shouldn't even change. Because you're going to operate on margin.
Wow.
Because your expenses should be less than your income. So there's a difference.
That's good.
This is how much you spend, this is how much you make.
That's good.
If you spend everything that you make, then what happens when boom, something happens, snap, crackles, and pops your car? What happens when this and kids? And then also if you have kids, you have kids, they have an emergency literally every day. I have a book report where I have to go get this. It's literally like every day. And when's it due? Tomorrow. I'm like, well, when did you? You know what I mean? Like, so there's literally that. And then also about with kids, they eat something every day. They don't ever ask you what the Dow Jones is. They don't ask you what interest rates are. They don't ask any of that stuff during Christmas time. They just want what they want. That's why you have to learn how to manage your own system. And this is literally a blueprint for that. Also, day 7, getting your spending under control. I'm walking you through how you do your spending and how you save it. And I break into 3 areas: installment debt, budgetary, and prosperity dollars. You have to start spending your resource in a manner conducive to building wealth. Not only tithing, giving, learning how to invest.
Again.
You spend your money in a manner conducive to building wealth and kingdom.
Wow.
Every time you spend $1, how much of that is going towards debt? How much of that's going towards budget? And how much of that is building kingdom? And then we got another category for you that we're going to start after this is how much of it is going towards generational wealth. So remember that when the kids get up and say, hey, we want you to go down here, we want to spend this and that. It better be a company that you own stock in.
Man, you literally got me at the edge of my seat. I mean, what you're really talking about is changing the way we think.
It's completely. It's your mind. So day 2, mind. Money, intelligence, need, discipline. So, and then also, do some in the video. You turn here faster than me. Develop your mind. So that means that you have money, you have resources.
Sure.
But it's intelligence. Like, so hey, do we just spend the money on, or are we just spending it, meaning that we're just consuming, or how do we turn it into producing? Then need is what's the goal, and then the D, that's discipline. Discipline, or hey,
talk about
discipleship.
What do you want to talk about?
You want to do this? You know what? It's so hard during.
Forget about defense.
When you're watching football season, you know what? You know how many teams? I ain't gonna say nothing about. I ain't gonna mention the names of the teams because these Cowboy fans get mad, and the Steelers fans get mad, and the Rams fans get mad, and the Eagles fans get mad. But if people play defense, D.
Yes.
So what we want to do is be disciplined. But not only this is the part about discipline that at least, and I admit I'm biased, that we do when we're doing these fasts is this: we make it fun. Like, in other words, like, so if remember we said last week,
Yep.
that we stop eating out at these restaurants.
Yep.
But it is so cool when I go with my daughter and say like this. So we're sitting there and she goes, I go, what do you want to do? She goes, I'm going to go to this one sushi restaurant. And we learn all the food. And I said, okay. Then we go to Trader Joe's. And I said, well, how to duplicate it. And I say, if we can duplicate this under $10, I'll take you there. And then we learn how to do it. So I take my daughter out on Valentine's Day. My daughter, by the way, she's 9. I'm taking her out to so I used to take her to Yogurtland.
Yeah.
Then she tried the whole sushi move on me last time. I said, we went from $4, now we up in the 40s.
Yeah.
But then what I do, I sat with her and I explained to her what a tip is and how this works. And she said, why do we tip? I said, she did an excellent job. Our waitress, and then we're going to tip this, and then I'm going to open the door for you. And what I'm doing is, you see this? I'm actually teaching her generationally. This is how men operate. This is how you're treated when you go.
That's good.
And this is how you pay. And this is what a tip is. And this is how things work. You see how I address them, and I start slowing it down and breaking it down. Because what am I doing? I'm modeling it. Do you know how much everybody can learn from their parents and grandparents, but they're not? They want to sit back and learn from them. Like even sitting down and asking them, having what's called a kitchen table conversation. You say to your parents, grandparents, hey, what's one of the best financial moves you've ever made? They'll say, typically they say buying a house, or they said that I did this, or I stayed on this job, or I put in a 401. They'll say certain things. Say, what's a mistake that you made financially that you wish you hadn't done before? In LA, there's a place where the Grove is. I was bidding on properties, and then they would raise the price $10,000 or $20,000, and I'd say, no, I wouldn't do it. But then I got another chance back in Inglewood. You know what I mean? But I just was like, I just thought that $350,000 or $400,000 was a lot of money back then to put down in that area. I stood up at our young adults and explained it to them. They were all laughing like they were doing a whole Def Comedy Jam, like Kings of Comedy, laughing at me. I said, but then I put out the inventory I have now. I said, but I learned from the mistakes. If a parent or grandparent has made a mistake, they should show that to their kids so that they can learn it.
That's good.
And the grandchildren, but you're modeling it, but then you say, let me show you how I'm going to correct it. Instead of, and then here I go again, and don't beat me up in the chat, but when you get ready to buy everybody all these toys and everything for Christmas, look up the names of the companies and buy them the stock. If you still have to buy them toys, I didn't say, see, I'm being nice today. I didn't say trash. So if you buy them the toys, then just all I ask is for you to put the date. Just take a picture and put the date that you bought the stock and the way you bought the toys, and I want you to come back 5 years later to tell me which one. And then tell me if you can find that toy.
What a life lesson, though. Wow.
That's how you do it. Generational.
No, I mean, I remember stock I was given at a younger age that is still doing what it does.
Right. And we had, and it's funny, and then I'm not giving out stock recommendations, but just from being an advisor and the people that like when there were pandemics before and we talked about Apple, or people just using the stuff that you buy. Like, okay, I'm not naming any companies, but okay, you get up in the morning, your sheets or your stuff, where'd that come from? That came to one of, you know what I mean? Remember I told you there are two people in the world? There are people who are cooks and people who are food handlers. Yeah. There's also people that go to Walmart, people who go to Target, people who go to Costco. Like, you know, like just look at these places that you go, the cell phone carrier that you know, now if you ever ask somebody, no one ever reads directions anymore. You just Google it.
Yeah.
Okay. There's people selling shoes that are very expensive that people just are wearing. So we want to make sure that you own those companies, because then you become producer, consumer. Changes it.
People
but it's
start
mindset.
Some investment clubs.
Right. but also, not only that, but you remember what's it? But do it family-wise. Your family should be sitting around talking about that. Like how my kids will walk up to me and people will watch them and they'll literally point at something and say, and name the company. And now I'm doing this, and then I'm doing one more, the stock symbols. Like one day I was, we don't buy nothing at the store unless it's on the list. And I spelled, when I was getting ready to go to the grocery store, I put down AAPL. And my wife said, George, that's not how you spell apple. I said, honey, if my kids learn how to spell apple like this, they'll do just fine. They're like, she's trying to correct me.
That's
my wife,
great, though.
But you understand, like yes. I always wrote down stock symbols to my kids for the stuff that we were buying.
Wow.
So they would learn it. Because, see, there'll be a point where they've got to do it. They've got to manage it. So that's how you teach them. Because in the Bible, as we said earlier, it says that a good person leaves a generational wealth for their children's children. In order to do that, one, the wealth has a transfer, but the wisdom. Most of these people that you see, I met Ballmer, Steve Ballmer recently.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
they're Intuit Dome.
Yeah.
He got up and spoke for he was speaking, let's say, 10 minutes.
Mhm.
After 2 minutes in, I said, I see why he's a billionaire. Number one, he's very passionate. And then when he was describing the Intuit Dome, he kept saying, you won't have to wait in line. There's a lot of restrooms. He said, you don't have to wait in line. He started giving out, he said that what you do is, like, let's say you order a hamburger and I order tacos and burritos. And then they'll say it's in locker 102. It'll say when it's ready. I just go up to the locker and get it and come back down.
That just
There's
makes
no
sense.
line cash. Now, hold on a second. They already got so then now this is the part I already paid through the credit card, right? I didn't really look at the price because I looked at convenience. I guess, if we were doing the premium pricing, but if you watched the other episode where I wouldn't have done it anyway. But so then there was that. Then what else do they have? They know I like burritos and they know you like hamburgers. Next day we get another text. Hey, do you want another one brought to your house? You see that? That's intelligence. So that you can figure out like how people did it. And this is the same thing. Everybody has a spiritual gift. Everyone has these things. We just have to be good stewards over it, manage our resources, move up to the next level, and teach others and make it generational.
Man, do you all see like the other dimensions we could be operating in financially and otherwise if we just do some basic things? And you might be a late start with our 21-day fast start, but really it's not too late to get involved at any time.
Oh, yeah.
Could you just repeat again like how people can connect with this, with your book and just the 21-day fast, just to get going on some of the things that we've been talking about?
Right. Okay, family. Hey, it's a 21-day fast start. I have a challenge. It's 21 days. You go to my website, georgebthompson.com. You just click on the join the challenge. It's $21. And what I do is I actually send you a video every day for 21 consecutive days of showing you how to get to the next level of my best financial principles. I've written 6 books in the area of finance and also just stewardship and helping you get to the next level. So what I do is I walk you through that for 21 days and then also send you a gift. I send you an ebook. And then also for people that come down, that also come down here, you could also just get a physical copy of the book for $10, and I'll have that available right here at Zoe certain days.
Awesome. This has been fantastic. This is just a small taste of what is to come really for all of us as we embrace these principles. Pastor George, I want to thank you for joining us, and I'm so excited about going on this journey together with you, and all of us will be working together to see the kingdom of God move forward and watch all of our lives improve as a result. So God bless you. Thanks for joining us.